If you don't freeze your stir fries in packs like this, now you will. So this is my favorite freezer prep recipe because it is better than takeout, cheaper than takeout, and faster than takeout. And you still get crispy tofu at the end. So let's get started. To make this recipe, you're gonna need 2 packages of extra firm tofu. So each of this is about 14 ounces. You can just drain the tofu and use it straight, or you can press it beforehand. I suggest pressing as much as possible so that you can get as much of the water out as possible. If you are meal prepping a bunch of recipes in the same day like I am today, you might want to start out with pressing the tofu so it gets as much press time as possible. You do not need a nice fancy tofu press. You can just use a cast iron skillet or the heaviest books available in your house to do this. So the goal is to get as much water out of the tofu as possible. Another trick is that you can just freeze the tofu and use that, but that's for another day. Since I have already started pressing my tofu, I'm just gonna get all the excess water out. And in the meantime, I'm gonna make my sauce. I recommend actually making the sauce for any tofu recipe in a separate container so that it doesn't get all congealed at the bottom and you'll be able to whisk it really into a nice saucy consistency. You're gonna need about 1/3 of a cup of low sodium soy sauce. I use low sodium because the rest of the stuff also has sodium in it, and you can always adjust it to your taste preference. But if you just have regular soy sauce available, that's totally fine. Just go for it. Start with some soy sauce, and then you're gonna do about 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, and then about a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. You could go beyond that, but I suggest that you first taste it and make sure that you're actually happy with it before you do that. A bit of ginger paste, that's about a teaspoon, I would say. And then some fresh garlic, already peeled it beforehand. It's totally up to you how much garlic you want. I suggest at least 1 teaspoon. Okay, that's all done. You want to give it a good mix. And then you're going to add some cornstarch. And you can add a little bit of water as well to help with the consistency. And so now you have your stir-fry sauce. Perfect. And so we're ready to prep this recipe now. Okay, perfect. And we set this aside while we prep the tofu. So we get the tofu out of its press. There'll still be more water, always. And for this recipe, you can either cut the tofu or you can also cube it, or you can also crumble it. It's totally up to you. I'm gonna continue to cut it just because it's easier, tossed that way, but lots of options, my friend. Again, save a few pieces so that we can use up the stuff that's left in the mug. Then we want a bunch of stir-fry vegetables. I'm just using frozen vegetables for the purpose of this recipe because, I mean, it works just fine, and Costco had stir-fry vegetables on sale this weekend. So we're just gonna do that. Roughly 4 cups. I have done this enough that I am just measuring with my hand, but you will know when it's time to start. Basically fill the bag, and then it's time to add our sauce. As usual, put your bag out, air out, freeze it, and then you seal it. Give it a good shake, and you're all done. So this is ready, and I have actually pre-portioned it so that I'm not going to be using up all of my stir fry. And here we go. Whew. We're just going to let this cook down for about 3 to 4 minutes in the high heat. And you'll see the tofu is already browning quite well. So let that do its own thing. And by now, you will want to check on your noodles as well. Okay, that looks pretty done. You don't want the noodles to overcook, so you just grab it and toss it in the rest of your stir fry. I usually love to hit it with just a little bit more soy sauce and some gochugaru, which is Korean red pepper. Give it a nice toss. Okay, and we are all done, ready to be served. I'm gonna garnish this with some sesame seeds, some fresh scallions. So you can never have too many greens. Time for the taste test. That is 10 on 10.